Omer Rabbi Akiva, Shneichem Yisrael. Omer Rabbi Akiva, Shneichem Yisrael. Ashneichem Yisrael. Ashneichem Yisrael, lifnei mi, atem mitahalim amim etaereschem. Lifnei mi, atem mitahalim amim etaereschem. Avichem shebashamayim, Avichem shebashamayim, Avichem shebashamayim, Avichem shebashamayim. Ve'omer mikveh Yisrael Hashem, Ve'omer mikveh Yisrael Hashem. Ma mikveh metares atmeim, Av HaKadosh Baruch Hu metares Yisrael. Ma mikveh metares atmeim, Av HaKadosh Baruch Hu metares. Lain lain amamai ambalala baladam baladam bam bam baladam baladam bam bam. Thanks for the water. Good morning, Chevra here in Shirat David. Good morning to all our Chevra learning with us wherever they are. I've been getting so many messages from people around the world. Mamash, this Elul Tishrei, they feel so much a part of what we're doing here because we're making it accessible to everyone. Tonight warms the heart. The month of Tishrei, sponsorship's the month of Tishrei, by Tanya and Yehuda Hanekman in honor of their daughter-in-law's birthday and for their full shleim and Chizuk Aguf Yakir Shlomo and Tanya Malka. Also by Doctors Shira and Yonatan Wiesen, Rabbi Yair and Talia Hinden, commemorating the first year of their grandmother Edith Reeder, Zichrono Livracha. Alex and Shachar Avram for a successful year of all of Am Yisrael, and memory of Shachar's sister Miriam Rezel Bat Moshe V'Yehudit Zichrono Livracha. This week is sponsored by Michal and Yuri Reinitz for their refuah shlema of Eitan Shai ben Adina Bracha, Zach and Elizabeth Freund for their refuah shlema of Zcharia Shlomo ben Dvora, Dr. Josh Goncher in honor of his wife Eva's birthday, Eliza and Brandon Beer in gratitude to Hashem for their daughter Meira's first birthday. The daily sponsorship, this is just Gan Eden. I want to read these things all day. It's unbelievable. I mean, there should be no refuah shlemas anymore because everyone should be healed, but all the other things. Wednesday, September 20th is today, right? Is that today? By Marsha Anushi. I assume that's Ariela's Ima? In memory of her mother, Ruth Lillian Piskanzer, Rachel Leah Bas Yehuda Aryeh Benachama Zichrono Livracha. The Elohim Nishmata. All right, the nigun we're going to be learning today the nigun that we just sang. This is a teaching from Rav Asher Weiss from his Sichot. This is a beautiful, beautiful teaching that will invite us into Yom Kippur. I think that it's, on Rosh Hashanah I was talking about when did Rosh Hashanah become complicated? As I was saying first day, right? When did Rosh Hashanah become complicated? Like it used to be just a peaceful, sweet, happy day, and then we start learning a little bit. Rosh Hashanah becomes this day filled with not exactly, the simcha is not the focus so much, it's more wow. Now, that's true. I want to ask the reverse question about Yom Kippur. When did Yom Kippur become so happy? When you're growing up, Yom Kippur was this day, this serious, sad even day, dreadful day, and then you start learning a little bit, and you're like, Yom Kippur is the greatest, happiest day of the year. It's a day like Purim, Kippurim, right? So it's such an interesting thing. Like when did Yom Kippur become so simchadik? I also want to welcome back Mr. Rich. I smell the Rebbe as you're walking inside. We missed you, and we know you were our shliach. You're one of our shluchim there. Well, I missed you very much, and I'm happy you're home safely. Baruch Hashem. So that question of when did Yom Kippur become like Yom Kippur? Especially someone said to me the other day, how intense is it? How intense is it by you guys on Yom Kippur? Of Shirat David, I said, oh, it's intensely happy. Meaning it's intense, but when you're plugging into inside stuff, there's something really, really beautiful happening and taking place. So we just basically sang, as you see, I think it's the last Mishnah, in Purification Yuma. Look what the Mishnah says, the top over here. Amar Rabbi Akiva, Ashreichem Yisrael, lifnei mi atem mitaharim umi mitaher etchem, avichem shebashamayim, praiseworthy are you, Am Yisrael. Before whom do you become purified? Who's purifying you? Avichem shebashamayim, your Abba in heaven. Shneimar, like we're going to be saying, and we've been saying in Slichot, but on Yom Kippur you say this over and over again. V'zarakti alechem mayim teorim utehatem. I'm going to sprinkle upon you pure water, and you'll become purified. Ve'omer, and Yirmiyahu Navi says, Mikveh Yisrael Hashem. The mikveh of Hashem is Yisrael, or the mikveh of Yisrael is Hashem. Ma mikveh mitares atmeim, just like a mikveh purifies the impure, Afa Kadosh Baruch Hu mitaret Yisrael. Hashem is our mikveh. Hashem is our mikveh. Yefeh. That's the nigun that we just sang. Okay, now listen to how Rabbi Asher does this. This is an amazing piece. You see, something that's important to point out is that Yom Kippur has a lot of Jewish history in it. Like Tachlis, just history, historical stuff. Anyone want to point out a very important historical point during Yom Kippur? That's, the bris is on, are you talking about the Akedah? The Akedah is Rosh Hashanah. Bris, Avram's bris, Yom Kippur? Okay. What else do we actually read about, though? We read about the 10 martyrs in the Musaf, Nachon? Asara Harugei Malchut, towards the end of the Avodah of the Kohen Gadol.
That happened on Yom Kippur?
Well, no, we read it on Yom Kippur. A lot of other things basically are pointed out throughout the davening that are all historical references. When this Mishnah was said, in reference to Yom Kippur, is going to blow your minds. Okay, just think about this for a second. Who's saying this? Amar Rebbe Akiva. That means there's always something very, very kashur to the historical context of what Rebbe Akiva is saying. Because when is Rebbe Akiva alive? He's alive in one of the most interesting times we ever had. Rebbe Akiva plays such a crucial role in the Sorah because he's the link between so much of what was and what then was afterwards, when really all odds were against him. All odds were against anyone in that time, that anything could actually continue. Just like the person that's stuck in a world of Averos thinks about himself. All odds are against him, unless he invites the light of tshuva into his life. So look how beautiful this is. יש להתבונן בעומק כוונתו של אדוננו התנא הגדול רבי עקיבא בן יוסף במאמר פלאי זה, ומה שייכי לרישא דמתניתין העוסק בכפרת החטאת והאשם. We need to look deeper into the depth of the kavanah of Rebbe Akiva. And what is it shaykh to the beginning of this Mishnah, which deals with the kapara of a chatat and asham. The Mishnah there is speaking about the actual kapara that the korban chatat and the korban asham would bring. Why is he saying this in the beginning over here? והנה משנה זו מסיימת את מסכת יומא, שרוב רובו עוסק בעבודת כהן הגדול ביום הכיפורים. שלא במקרה נקבע מאמר זה בסיומה דמסכת דה, אלא כוונה עמוקה יש כאן. This is the last Mishnah in Masechet Yuma. What is Masechet Yuma mainly dealing with? It's mainly dealing with the avodah of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. Have any of you ever learned through Gemara Yuma? Gemara Yuma? I'm sure some of you are just too humble to say it. That's fine. I was just testing you. I'm kidding. V'libi omerli. My heart, I love when he says this. V'libi omerli. My heart says to me, Rav Asher says, ליבי אומר לי, הלא רבי עקיבא וחבריו היו גדולי התנאים בדור שלאחר חורבן בית המקדש. Rabbi Akiva and his friends were the greatest tanaim in the generation that followed the Churban Habayit, the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. What was going on in Eretz Yisrael at the time? Malchut Romi Harish'a adayin hishtolela be'Eretz HaKodesh. The evil Romans are going crazy throughout the land. Ratzcha bizeza harsa ve'lo chamla. They were killing, raping, burning, looting, everything. Complete chaos. Ve'af Rabbi Akiva atzmo atid haya liot ma'arugei HaMalchut. And even Rabbi Akiva himself, we know, was destined to be one of the 10 martyrs. Ubesof Masechet Makot, at the end of Masechet Makot, מסופר שרבי עקיבא וחבריו עלו לירושלים, שמעו קול המונה של רומי והתחילו הם בוכים. Remember the famous story? Rabbi Akiva goes up to Yerushalayim, he hears the voice of the legions of Rome, And all of them start crying. וכאשר חזרו וראו שועל יוצא מבית קודש הקודשים, and then they see a fox come out of the Holy of Holies, שוב היו בוכים, they started crying again. חבריו הקדומים של רבי עקיבא, ורבי עקיבא מצחק, and the famous story, and Rabbi Akiva is smiling and he's laughing. By the way, did you guys see?
Yeah, it was wild.
It was wild, right?
Yeah.
You saw the fox this year on Tisha B'Av?
Tisha B'Av. Multiple foxes.
Yeah, I just saw one picture of a fox. You saw that? It's
Videos.
crazy. Video, yeah.
Of multiple.
Yeah, it wasn't AI or anything. It was that was
Legit.
yeah, that really happened. That really happened. And Rabbi Akiva is I always wonder if Chas v'Shalom, we had to live in that time. What would I think that moment that Rabbi Akiva is smiling? And let's be real. And he's laughing, right? We see a shu'al, a fox coming out of the destroyed Beis HaMikdash.
Too soon.
Yeah. Right? It's like that guy that comes to the Shiva house and says, one joke just a little bit too soon. Did you have any of those? You guys were probably doing it. Yeah. You were the one who had that joke too soon. Just a bit too soon, right? And why is it כאילו too soon? He explains here. כל העולם כולו עדיין שבורים ורצוצים היו מן האסון הנורא של חורבן בית המקדש. The nation was completely and utterly destroyed from what they just experienced. ובכללם, including amongst those that were completely destroyed, גדולי התנאים, the greatest Tanas, שלא נתנו הפוגה לדמעות עיניהם, which means they couldn't stop crying for 1 second. ורבי עקיבא לבדו רואה את האור שבחושך. But it's Rabbi Akiva alone that sees the light within the darkness. את החסד שבדין, the chesed that's in judgment, והעריף עליהם תלתלי נוחם. And he's starting to console. That's Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva in the deepest, darkest place, where nothing seems to be adding up, he's the one that somehow is able to start to console. Now, we see this kind of play out in his life at another point, right? How old was Rebbe Akiva when he kind of joins the party of Yiddishkeit? 40. Now, you would think a person like that, if he then chose to become a Rosh Yeshiva, and then he sees that 24,000 of his students didn't get the memo of what he was trying to give over to them, that he'd give up and choose to become a carpenter or work at a gas station, whatever it is. No, I mean, if like that's the gig you take, and 24,000 of your people, of your students, are dying day after day. Remember, he went, what did we say? He went to 3,000 levayas a day, I think. That's what it came out to. Because they died between Pesach and Shavuos. It came out to Mashu Kazeh. No, not 3,000. 300. Even 3 is insane. But he went, hundreds a day, right? And yet, in that choshech, what does he decide to do? He's basically not laughing, Khalila, but that inyan, he's like, I'm starting all over again. And he starts with the 18, literally the 18, right? He starts with 5, again. So it's just mind-blowing, this neshama of Rabbi Akiva, that he's able to constantly look into the eye of Yeush and of despair and of absolute darkness and say, I'm calling you out on your lie. I'm calling you out on your sheker. So actually, I didn't ask him, but yesterday there was a bris of a friend of ours. I only saw the message too late. I didn't make it. You know Rabbi Joey Rosenfeld? Yeah. Rabbi Joey? Be'ez Hashem, we're going to get him here soon. So he's a dear friend. Richard Meyer Morgenstern was the Sandik. You went, Emmanuel?
No.
So he just sent me, right before Shir, he sent me the footage of the naming, and I think he named his son Akiva Shalom. I mean, that's why it was it's all connected. Akiva Shalom. Like, each person should have this nukuda of Akiva in them with Shalom. This should be for the schus of the Rachanim of Akiva Shalom. That he should always, if there's ever din, Chalila, he should be the one that finds the chesed within it. If there's, God forbid, choshech in the world, he should be the one that always finds the ur in it, the light. So here, so this is, let's say, the first yantiv after the destruction. Now think about this. How long after Churban Abayis is Yom Kippur? That first Yom Kippur. Think about this. This is amazing. The first Yom Kippur, how long is it? 6 weeks? 5, huh? 7 weeks. 7, 8 weeks maybe, right? Think about that. Yom Kippur is coming.
There's no...
Nothing.
It's 50 days from Tisha B'Av to Rosh Hashanah.
Right, so it's right there.
60 days.
It's crazy. Crazy. והנה כאשר הגיעו הימים הנוראים ושארית הפלטה, עם שרידי חרב, נזכרו בימי תפארתם את עמד הבית הגדול על תילו. On Yom Kippur, remember the first Yom Kippur, and they're remembering what Yom Kippur was. Can you imagine what they were feeling? Can you imagine what they were experiencing? ועיניהם ראו ולא זר, כהנים בעבודתם, לוויים בשירם ובזמרם. There's no Kohen doing his thing. There's no Levi singing his nigun. There's no Yid that goes up and feels the cleansing. ועכשיו חסרנו כל אלה. We have none of this. This is the first Yom Kippur after the Churban Abayis. ואין לנו לא חטאת ולא עולה, לא כהן גדול, לא בגדי כהונה, לא בגדי זהב ולא בגדי לבן, לא דם הפר ולא דם השעיר ולא שעיר המשתלח. We don't have any of these things that we speak about over and over again in Yom Kippur, which used to be the greatest resemblance of Hashem's love, the manifestation of Hashem's love for us through the avodah of the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur, the moment that they would chuck that goat to hell, and like we spoke about on Monday's shir, the ribbon, the whatever that was, turned white, and then we all knew, oh my God, you, Mamish, you love us. They don't have any of that year. They have such yeush from feeling like there's going to be any mercy in their life. And they're screaming from the bitterness of their hearts, basically, we are doomed. We are doomed. Just like a Jew in 1945. Many of them. We are doomed. Yeah.
Isn't that a little bit too much of a reliance of the Beit HaMikdash and forgetting that we have a relationship with Kadosh Baruch Hu? So how are we today supposed to react when we don't have the Beit HaMikdash? Right? Like, we didn't have that.
You've been the Chazan. I don't know. In your Nusach, do you say the Tefillah? Do you say the Avodah of the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippurim? So you know. We call it straight out. We say. We really spell it out and say it's true. We don't have any of this, but we still only you. We still have you. But you know what? When you're feeling it fresh, we're just going into the psyche, to the mind and heart of a person that's feeling it 7, 8 weeks after you could probably still smell the fire. For some reason, I was watching a 9/11. Oh, I know why, because it was 9/11. 9/11 documentary the other day. And people were talking, I don't know if any of you were in Manhattan in those days or anywhere in New York, but you could smell the stench for weeks, maybe even months afterwards.
In my house, I could see it
From your house in Queens.
I saw the second plane hit.
So the equivalent of seeing the second plane hit and then going into Yom Kippur. Okay? Whatever we need for the imagery, okay? Each of us can do this. Listen, I had... I think I told you this. I remember clearly, I still have it in my house. When I was 15, there were these consecutive Sunday morning bus bombings in Yerushalayim. It was the 18 bus. Kav Shmonasra, that was the one, right? Huh? That was your year here.
Was that Gaza?
No, it was on Rehova, what's that? No, this is Yerushalayim. It was the same year as Dizengoff. That was Purim. It actually connects to that too. That's what I'm going to tell you. But no, Kav Shmonasra, it was this Sunday morning buses that basically Chayalim, it was 1 week after another. It was a lot where Chayalim were on. It was Kav Shmonasra by the old Tachana Merkazit. Now where it is now, that's Rehova Yafo. It was like the beginning of Yafo, close to where the central bus station is now. But it connects to Dizengoff also because Dizengoff was 2 months later. This I think was in January. And I don't know what got into me, but I went that night. I think I went alone. I went from Ra'anana, I went on a bus, and I went to the scene, and it was still there. Pieces of it were still there. And I took pieces of the bus and of the wiring that came out of the, like the top, huh?
You pull to ding?
Yeah, like some of that. And I put it up and I put it in a jacket and I brought it home. I still have it in my house. It still smells. Well, I say Dizengoff because Dizengoff was right before Purim. It was like a few hours before Purim. I went with one of my rabbis in high school and two of my friends, and we read Megillah on the crosswalk, right there, that Purim. And it's still, now they're already, they tried to, wipe it away, but what I'm saying, these things, they stay with you, right? So these are horrible tragedies, but the national tragedy of Churban Abayit was enough of a legitimate human reason for a person to say, maybe this year, maybe I'm out. Yom Kippur, maybe I'm out this year. Like I can't start thinking about all these things. And it's true what you're saying, Yosef, about think about the human psyche. You're 100% right. Where is it? Mamish, I have to tell you, like, I have these things. It still has that stench of the of that, crazy stuff. And so everyone's feeling like this. You could smell the churban of the Kodesh all over the country, all over the land. Ad shekam amoreh agadol Rabbeinu Akiva ben Yosef veichriz. Rabbi Akiva gets up and says, Ashreichem Yisrael. Lifnei mi atem mitarim umi mitar etchem avichem shebashamayim. He's basically saying what you just said. He's basically saying, before who did all that take place that we don't have anymore? Before Hashem. So that physical thing isn't here anymore? It's true. But before the entity through which that whole Tahara happened, that's not happening? Ashreichem. Now Ashreichem is the Lashon. What's Ashrei? It's either praiseworthy or happy is the person, right? When they realize what their lot is. Ashreichem Yisrael. That's what he says. Kasher habayit amad al tilo. Umelech malchei hamlachim shochen bo kavod. When the house stood and the King of Kings was dwelling in there. Harei ze bivchinat malchut lechavod uletifaret. Then there's malchut set up in its place. There's kavod going on. Glory. Ubemalchus, listen to this mahalach, this is brilliant. Ubemalchus yesh chukim veklalim. When the kingdom and the monarchy is standing, there's laws, there's rules. Malchuta de ara me'in malchuta de rekia. And the malchut from below is ke'ilu, like a reflection of the malchut of above. Uchashem shebe'armanot hamlachim yesh protokol, ketzad nichnasim veketzad yotzim. And just like there's a protocol in different palaces, how you come in, how you leave. Manotnim lamelech, ma mekablim mimeno. You have to come with a certain gift. You also have to know how to receive something. Ketzad medabrim umatai shotkim. How do you speak? How do you talk? Kach gam b'malchut shamayim kivyachol be'anagas hamalchus she anagas adin yesh klalim v'yesh gvulot. So too in the kingdom of heaven, there's, so to speak, in the way that they run things there's laws. There's borders, there's limits. Dalet chaluke kapara ema. There's 4 different types of kapara. Kol korban al ma'u mechaper v'al ma'u tole. Each korban does for this, atones for this. V'achoreg min haklalim v'poretz et hagvul en ma'asav retzuim. And someone that says, you know what, I'm taking a shortcut, or I'm not going to do what the protocol demands of me, how to act in the palace, they're out of there. I just have to digress for a second. Because the following story was told to me this year by someone who was kind of, it's someone I love very much. They were telling me a story that I hope he never ever told a Chabadnik. He told me, because it just mamash jumped out of me. He told me, the Rebbe barely ever left 770. You know that, right? There was one time that he went to a camp, to visit a camp, a Lubavitch camp in the 60s, I think, maybe it was late 50s. There was one time that a few times he went to do tashlich. He only left America one time once he got here to go to his mother in Paris, the whole story. But basically he never left, and he would only go to one place, and one place only. And that was the Ohel. He went to his father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, Nishmas Eden. there were a few funerals that the Rebbe went outside of 774 and it was malava them. And one of them was a whole story of a boy that was killed in riots. You remember this story that happened in Crown Heights? Huh? Yeah, I think in the early 90s, 90 or 91, maybe 89. Mashkaze. I think his name was Yankee Rosenbaum. Very good. Yeah, Yankee Rosenbaum. So this person told me that no one touches the Rebbe, right? And no one, even the Rebbe is going out to be Malav the Mace. So he told me that he went up to the Rebbe, he put his arm around him, and told him even a little bit of Musar about a certain Indian. I'm being very discreet with the details. I don't want to Khalila, right? And told him, this Yid is waiting for you, something like that. He thought he was sharing with me something like in a deep story. I wanted to say to him, the Rebbe is the Melech. What are you serious? Did you actually really go out and second of all, I don't know if I believe you, because if anyone saw you do that, these guys would tackle you. These guys would tackle you to the ground, right? There's so I'm still suffix if that details the way he explained to me. No, not a chance. Come up to the Rebbe, put his arm around him, and says, you should really take care of such and such thing. Crazy, right? So that's what I'm thinking over here. He's saying, can you imagine? Today we don't have this in the world, because the only place that's ki'ilu a little bit resembles this is England, right? And it was much more when Queen Elizabeth was in the world. I don't know still how what the Hanhagas are by I guess he's king, right?
Yeah, I was
King
there
Charles.
a few 2.5 months ago, and we went to Buckingham Palace to take my son and wife. My father took us on a tour, and it was all as before.
Yeah.
The flag was up. He was in the palace.
Yeah.
The guards were around.
Yeah, I went one time. The changing of the guard. Whatever, as Yom Kippur, I shouldn't start insulting. This, it did. Not only did it do nothing for me, it even did the opposite. I waited for hours and I saw a changing of the guard. Nothing.
It was interesting because there was a lot of rubbish, trash, as I say, rubbish all around outside the gate where all the people were, and I just felt that they should have people cleaning up all the tourists.
So you did it.
Beautiful. So it wasn't as special as so Marcus did. Yeah.
But I think it's the only real. I think maybe in Morocco it's a little bit like this too. I just don't know that as much. But I think in England it's the only. Meaning, if you come in there and you don't bring what you're supposed to bring when you're invited, and you're not there to receive as you're supposed to receive.
I've been there in front of the Queen.
It's Malchus. It was Malchus, right? He's saying over here.
I was in a room with her once.
That's when Malchus is. When Malchus stands erect, there's ways. There's a whole shita. There's a whole derech how to go about things. Yeah. We had Malchus, Kachevra. We did have that.
The Queen said to Rabbi Lord Sachs, "Why is this night different from every other night?"
So we had Malchus, right? We had the Beis Hamikdash, and when the Beis Hamikdash stood, there were lines, there were gifts. You gave ki'ilu the equivalent of it, right? There was an order. You didn't go out of line. There was order for everything. That's how things worked. Yom Kippur, the process of Malchut on Yom Kippur was for this is for that. Then you go here. Then he says this. Then he washes this. It was all in order, right? And that last page, Ach mishecharav beis hamikdash, en lanu lehisha'en ela lavinu shebashamayim. But now that beis hamikdash is destroyed, we got nothing down here. All we have is real, only you. Only you, Hashem. Tachlis, I have all the halachas also, but only you. It's only you. At the end of the day, in the beginning of the day, it's only you. U'me'ata kadosh baruch hu mitnegim Yisrael ke'av velo ke'melech. This is amazing. Even though we say Avinu Malkeinu, since the time the Beis Hamikdash has been destroyed, we don't really have Malkeinu in a way that Malchus appears in the world. But what do we have more than ever? Avinu, Abba. Ke'av rachum v'chanon. He's a merciful Father. ובבית האבא אין פרוטוקול. ואין כללים ואין חוקים, אלא רחמי אב הגדולים והעצומים הפורצים כל גבול. All we have in the house of Abba, there's no protocol, there's no rules, there's no laws. It's just the great Rahmanis the Father has, which are poretz kol gvul. They go beyond any border, any line that says you can't step here. It's klalo. It doesn't work for us. And the way that the Abba is with his and his love for his precious children. So Rav Asher is saying, as much as we cry that we don't have these things anymore, he says, "En tzorech," there's no need. Lo bechatat, velo be'asham, velo bekohen gadol, velo bebigdei keuna, velo b'dam apar, velo b'dam ha'sa'ir, v'af lo b'seir ha'mishtaleach. There's no need for any of these things for Yom Kippur to still be Yom Kippur. What is there need for? Ela berachamim b'chemla, mercy and compassion, b'chenu b'chesed, v'al kol psha'am techaseh ahava. Like the famous pasuk says, that over all the transgressions, what's the cover? What's the atonement? What does the job? What's the equivalent of the Malchut's manifestation in this world? Love. Akol psha'im t'chaseh ahava. V'hu shomer Rabbi Akiva. And this is what Rabbi Akiva says, Ashreichem Yisrael. Lifnei mi atem mitarim, umi mitair etchem, avichem shebashamayim. Praiseworthy are you, Am Yisrael, because before who are you purifying yourself? And who is purifying you? Does it say Malkechem shebashamayim? No. Avichem shebashamayim. Ma mikveh metayas atmeim af HaKadosh Baruch Hu metayas Yisrael. Ve'yuvan ledarkeinu. So we understand. Sherabeinu HaKadosh kava ma'amar nifla zeh besof Masechet Yoma. Why was this set up at the end of Masechet Yoma, which is the Masechet that deals with the avoda of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur? Ubeseifa matnit in the Parshas Korbanos, and the end of the Mishnayos that speak about Korbanos, Kisham mekomo, Kisham na'eh v'sham ya'eh. Because basically, it says, Hakol olech achar hachatum. Everything goes after the way something is signed off. The way the Mishnahs that deal with all the intricate details of things we don't have, right? It goes after the end of saying, and you know what? Rabbi Akiva is still standing. And it's still 6, 7, 8 weeks after the Churban. And he's telling Yidden, Ashreichem Yisrael, Lifnei mi atem mitarim, mitaretchem mi. Who is doing it? Avichem. Not a melech right now. Even though it's so weird because we say Avinu Malkeinu, but the Tahara process is much more connected to the Abba and Ben relationship than it is to the Melech and Eved. We need both. But regarding the way he built it up here, is he's saying, I mean, unless we completely mislearned what he said, I think it was pretty pashut. It wasn't too complicated, no?
So it's more im kavanim than im ka'avadim.
I think im kavadim we were learning on Rosh Hashanah is that you need an Abba and a Melech. An Abba always wants to give, he's not always able. A Melech is always able to give, he doesn't always want. So we say Avinu Malkeinu, right? But here, the Tahara process, I already went through that on Rosh Hashanah. The Tahara process is I don't have a kohen, I don't have the nigun of the Levi. Do you expect my heart to be open? Do you know that Iva Sefer just speaks about the process of the breaking open of the Jewish heart when it brought a korban, when it came and was greeted by the nigun of the Levi? What it did to him? Hashem, you expect me to my heart to actually be open without the nigun of the Levi? But I'm still here. Why? Because Rabbi Akiva stood up that first Yom Kippur and said, Ashreichem Yisrael. And we're still holding on to Rabbi Akiva's words today. And I find that to be on the level of like going back to the beginning. Because now it really answers the question. How could there be simcha when you go through the Musaf Avod of the Kohen Gadol? The description of what the Kohen did. Not just what the Kohen did, what it caused, and further, the description of the simcha of the people when the Kohen came out, right? That alone is the greatest simcha in the world. Plucking that out of my experience should be the most cruel way of experiencing Yom Kippur. And that's kind of what I'm doing over there. And I'm saying, basically, I'm reading all of that, and I'm saying, I don't got a Kohen, I don't have a Levi, I don't have Yisrael B'Mamadam, I don't have all these things. I have no resemblance of Malchus in this world. I have nothing. And yet still, I am B'Simcha here. If we could understand for a second, tune into how much Nachas Hashem has, the moment that a Jew could be B'Simcha on Yom Kippur in 2023, I can't imagine anything more glorious. Anything more glorious than Shemayim. And if we're saying it's all a reflection of what goes on up there and what goes on down here, I just think that we're all set up to experience Tahara, which is what Yom Kippur is all about. That's the greatest Tahara in the world. The greatest Tahara in the world is that I'm still holding on to you as an Abba, which means I didn't lose my identity. It means I know where I come from. I know where I'm going. That is the greatest thing. That's the greatest tshuva in the world also. So I guess we should all be zocheh to just experience tshuva shlema in light of how Rav Asher just paved the way for us this Rosh Hashanah, this Yom Kippur.
Amen.
Yeah.
There's a pasuk